19 numbers from across Europe. Hi, Natasha. So I know you're tracking all the numbers, and sadly we can tell people that Spain now has more deaths than China. What are we hearing?
That's right. Today we really wanted to focus on the situation in Spain. For so long it's been Italy when we've been talking about Europe or even the UK. But in Spain today they recorded the single highest number of deaths related to COVID-19 since this whole pandemic started back in December. Certainly it started in China in December, but so now 738 deaths just today. And so as a result, the total number of deaths in the country are 3,434, Jennifer.
Sí. 我看到了他的公交车还在运行，我看到了他的人还在运行，我看到酒店人还在聚会，我看到很多不戴口罩的，让我们正常的一种经济停下来，让人的平时我们喜欢的这种人际的交往停下来，可以说让生活宅在家里头。
Our cameras are allowed access to the very front line of the coronavirus catastrophe. This is the nightmare facing our health system if the pandemic takes hold.
If what happens here in Lombardy spreads to the entire world with the same speed and the same violence, we can expect more deaths than during the Second World War.
Professor Giacomo Grasselli is an intensive care specialist, coordinating all the IC units in hospitals across Lombardy, ground zero of Italy's exponential outbreak.
I think that here in Lombardy we had something similar to what happened in Wuhan, and that it was just the explosion of a bomb. And then from there on, the disease spread very quickly, and if it happens like that, it's impossible to stop. It's an incredible number. They are like the tip of an iceberg.
It sounds like a living hell when you walk through your intensive care units. I mean, how are you feeling?
Well, you know, it's an incredible stress for the healthcare system. And believe me, the healthcare system here in Lombardy is quite well organized. I mean, Lombardy is a very rich region. But still, despite all this, if the disease keeps spreading with this speed, we will get to a point where the number of beds in the ICU will not be enough for the number of patients requiring ICU admission. So,
with that as a backdrop, we have the worst kind of breaking news. Washington Post reporting that for the first time, coronavirus deaths in this country surpassed 100 in one day, and 500 total. Claire McCaskill, we're reaching horrific kinds of milestones in this country.
The federal government has to prioritize the resources. Look at where the problems are across this nation. California has 2,800 cases. Washington State, 2,200 cases. Florida, 1,200 cases. Massachusetts, about 800 cases. New York has 25,000 cases.
Hello YouTube, Sandre here. This is a video that I've been working on for a long time. And in this video, I'm going to educate you as to the history of COVID-19, as well as its spread throughout the world. I will also talk about what the symptoms are, and how you prevent getting infected as well as infecting others. I will also debunk some common myths associated with this virus. You will find timestamps to individual sections of this video. Naturally, I think the best thing for you is to just watch the entire thing. Now, with this introduction out of the way, let's begin. Chapter 1. How it all began. Late 2019, Wuhan region, China. The disease appears to have originated from a Wuhan seafood market, where wild animals, including marmots, birds, rabbits, bats, and snakes, are traded illegally. The different strains of coronaviruses are pretty known to jump from animals to humans. Therefore, it is thought that the first people infected with the disease, stallholders from the seafood market, contracted this virus from contact with animals. December 31st, 2019, World Health Organization. Health authorities in China confirmed that dozens of people in Wuhan, China, are being treated for pneumonia from an unknown source. Many of those sickened had visited a live animal market in Wuhan, but authorities said that there is no evidence of the virus spreading from person to person. January 1st, 2020, Wuhan region, China. The Wuhan market was shut down for inspection and cleaning on January 1st. But by then, it appears that COVID-19 was already starting to spread beyond the market itself. January 7th, 2020, China. While the cause of the current outbreak was initially unknown, on January 7th, Chinese health authorities identified that it was caused by a strain of coronavirus that hadn't been encountered in humans before. January 11th, 2020, Wuhan region, China. Chinese state media reported the first death from the coronavirus. A 61-year-old man who had visited the live animal market in Wuhan. January 13th, 2020, China. The Chinese government shared a genetic sequence of the virus so that other countries could develop their own diagnostic kits. January 20th, 2020, Asia. Japan, South Korea, and Thailand report their first cases. January 21st, 2020, USA. First confirmed case in the United States. A man in his 30s from Washington State, who traveled to Wuhan, is diagnosed with novel coronavirus. January 21st, 2020, World Health Organization. The World Health Organization Western Pacific Office said the disease was also being transmitted between humans, evidence of which is apparent after medical staff became infected with the virus. Since then, evidence of widespread human-to-human transmission outside of China has been well established, making chances of containing the virus very much harder. January 23rd, 2020, China. The Chinese government responded to the initial outbreak by placing Wuhan and nearby cities under a de facto quarantine encompassing roughly 50 million people in the Hubei province. January 30th, 2020, World Health Organization. For the 6th time in history, the World Health Organization declares a public health emergency of international concern, a designation reserved for extraordinary events that threaten to spread internationally. January 31st, 2020, Lombardy, Italy. The virus was first confirmed to have spread to Italy on 31st of January 2020, when 2 Chinese tourists in Rome tested positive for the virus. February 5th, 2020, Yokohama, Japan. More than 3,600 passengers are quarantined on a cruise ship off the coast of Yokohama, Japan, while passengers and crew undergo health screenings. The number of confirmed cases on board the ship would eventually swell to more than 700, making it one of the largest outbreaks outside of China. February 11th, 2020, World Health Organization. The World Health Organization announces that novel coronavirus formal new acronym is COVID-19. The full name is Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2, or SARS-CoV-2 for short. Chapter 2. The Spread and Reactions. February 19th, 2020, Iran. First 2 confirmed cases in Iran. This nation, much like Italy, will be one of the worst hit by the virus. February 21st and 22nd, 2020, Italy. A cluster of cases has been detected, starting with 16 confirmed cases in Lombardy on the 21st of February, and 60 additional cases and first deaths on 22nd of February. February 26, 2020, California, USA. First case of suspected local transmission in United States. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirmed the first case of COVID-19 in a patient in California with no travel history to an outbreak area, nor contact with anyone diagnosed with the virus. It's suspected to be the first instance of local transmission in the United States. Oregon, Washington, and New York soon report their own cases of possible community transmission. February 29th, 2020, Washington, USA. The first COVID-19 death is reported in Washington state after a man with no travel history to China dies on February 28th at Evergreen Health Medical Center in Kirkland, Washington. 2 deaths that occurred February 26 at a nearby nursing home would later be recorded as the first COVID-19 deaths to occur in the United States. March 3rd, 2020, Iran. Iran has temporarily released over 54,000 prisoners in an attempt to prevent the spread of the coronavirus in the country's overcrowded prisons. The prisoners are released after being tested negative for the COVID-19 virus and after paying a bail. The temporary release does not apply to prisoners who have been sentenced to longer sentences than 5 years. March 3rd, 2020, USA. CDC lifts restrictions for virus testing. The CDC issues new guidance that allows anyone to be tested for the virus without restriction. Previously, only those who had traveled to an outbreak area, who had close contact with people diagnosed with COVID-19, or those with severe symptoms could get tested. Early March 2020, Italy. By the beginning of March, the virus had spread to all regions of Italy. March 4th, 2020, Washington, D.C., USA. Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida wore a large gas mask on the House floor to mock what he called the hysteria surrounding COVID-19, as well as the Congress working to pass a $8.3 billion emergency funding bill meant to address the mounting coronavirus outbreak. March 9th, 2020, Washington, D.C., USA. Just 2 days later, Florida announced that 2 people had died after contracting the virus, including one of Gaetz's own constituents. On Saturday, Gaetz released a statement to say that he was extremely saddened by the news. On Monday, Gaetz's Twitter account announced that he had come into contact with a conservative political action conference attendee 11 days earlier that tested positive for the coronavirus. Although Gaetz's statement said he is not showing any symptoms, he received testing and is waiting for the results. He is under self-quarantine for 14 days per the doctor's recommendations, according to his statement. March 11th, 2020, World Health Organization. World Health Organization officially declared that the COVID-19 outbreak is a pandemic. Quoting, "World Health Organization has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we are deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity, and by the alarming levels of inaction," said its Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, March 11th, Missouri, USA. It's reported that Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt filed a lawsuit against Jim Baker, who has offices in the state, for misrepresentations about the effectiveness of silver solution as a coronavirus treatment. Baker was convicted in 1989 on multiple counts of fraud after he stole millions of dollars in a fundraising scandal. He spent 5 years in prison before returning to TV in 2003. During a February 12th episode of The Jim Baker Show, Selman claimed the so-called silver solution was able to eliminate some strains of coronavirus.
This influenza that is now circling the globe, you're saying that silver solution would be effective.
Well, let's say it hasn't been tested on this strain of the coronavirus, but it's been tested on other strains of the coronavirus and has been able to eliminate it within 12 hours.
March 13th, 2020, Washington, D.C., USA. President Donald Trump declared a U.S. national emergency, which he says will open up $50 billion in federal funding to fight COVID-19. March 13th, 2020, New York, USA. New York Attorney General Letitia James ordered radio host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones to stop claiming that InfoWars products can protect against the novel coronavirus. Quoting, Alex Jones's latest mistruths are incredibly dangerous and pose a serious threat to the public health of New Yorkers and individuals across the nation, the Attorney General said.
Not going to belabor this. I'm just going to tell you that for just your daily life and your gums and your teeth and for regular viruses and bacteria, the patented nanosilver we have, the Pentagon has come out and documented, and Homeland Security, and said this stuff kills the whole SARS corona family at point blank range. Well, of course it does. It kills every virus. But they found that. And then this is 13 years ago. And the Pentagon uses the product we have. The nano silver toothpaste in the super blue with the tea tree and the iodine. That's the super blue is amazing. And then we have the whitening toothpaste that has the nano silver and a lot more as well. Those are both excellent. They're at InfoWarsStore.com. They're still discounted despite all the hell breaking loose.
Mid-March 2020, Italy. On the 8th of March, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte expanded the quarantine to all of Lombardy and 14 other northern provinces, and on the following day to all of Italy, placing more than 60 million people in quarantine. On the 11th of March 2020, Conte prohibited nearly all commercial activity except for supermarkets and pharmacies. On the 21st of March, the Italian government closed all non-essential businesses and industries and further restricted movement of people. During this time, it is also officially declared by Italian authorities that there is a nationwide lack of masks and other protective gear for hospital workers, as well as ventilators. Mid-March 2020, USA. Several US states, such as Montana, seem to be following what many nations are doing and start a process of releasing non-violent prisoners back into society to curb the spread of the virus in prisons. During this time, it is also officially declared by US authorities that there is a nationwide lack of masks and other protective gear for hospital workers, as well as ventilators. Social unrest begins to become visible in the US as many individuals display an unwillingness to engage in solidarity and selfishly buy more than needed of certain goods or even entire stocks of goods, meaning most customers can't buy enough, or in some cases not any, of such goods. For some reason, one of the goods being sold out is toilet paper, leading to many videos being posted online showing altercations between selfish hoarders and upset customers. Many of these altercations are trivial, but sadly, many are violent in nature.
Here we go. Yeah, I got it all. Still getting it. Midwest Legends live, Davenport, Iowa.
Take that, you bunch of losers!
Oh God, okay.
On the 14th of March, a news video is uploaded and goes viral, telling the story of Matt Colvin, who bought all the sanitizer he could find in stores around his region, sparking outrage.
A pandemic meant an opportunity.
It went to 0 to 60 really fast.
After the first COVID-19 death in the United States, Colvin went state to state clearing out sanitizer shelves. He now sits with 18,000 unused bottles in his home and storage unit, while people in the Tennessee Valley struggle to find one.
The bulk of it was purchased with just driving around to retail stores in the Chattanooga area.
Colvin bought the sanitizer with the intention of selling them for profit on Amazon before they took his listings down. Now, feeling the same panic as many others.
Oh crap is the PG way to say it.
Though he would not discuss on camera the exact prices he sold the sanitizer for, he told the New York Times in a recent interview that some items were listed at $70 a bottle.
The pricing on Amazon was definitely higher than retail.
Stating in a shirt that says "Family Man, Family Business," he says he never anticipated the struggle other families would go through because of a shortage.
Would you say you're sorry?
Sorry for sorry for buying all of this. No, I don't think that I would.
After receiving backlash online, Colvin says he's making plans to donate the rest of the sanitizer.
With business, there's wins and there's losses, and this is a situation where cutting my losses is the right thing to do.
March 15th, 2020, USA. The CDC warns against holding or attending gatherings larger than 50 people, including conferences, festivals, parades, concerts, sporting events, and weddings for 8 weeks, recommending that individuals cancel or postpone those events to avoid spreading the virus or introducing it into new communities. March 19th, Florida, USA. A now infamous video of spring breakers in Florida being interviewed goes online. The apparent disregard of their own safety, but primarily the safety of others, causes a huge uproar.
I get corona, I get corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. You know, we've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Whatever happens, happens.
Like, it's really messing up with my spring break. What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach, and they're closing all of it? It's really messing. I think they're blowing it way out of proportion. I think it's doing way too much.
Doing us bad. We need a refund. This virus ain't that serious. It's serious. It's more serious things out there like hunger and poverty, and we need to address that.
Yeah, I mean, we planned this a long time ago, and it was kind of up in the air if we still go, but like we're here. I just turned 21 this year, so I'm here to party, so it's kind of disappointing, but we're just making the most of it. We met these other people in our little Airbnb spot, so we're just hanging out with them and trying to get drunk before everything closes.
I mean, it sucks, but we're gonna make the best of it. We're enjoying ourselves. It sucks, and I'm from New Orleans, so this really sucks. However, we're gonna enjoy ourselves. We having day parties all day. It's my birthday, St. Patrick's Day. Turn up.
We're just trying to roll with the boy. We're just living for the moment. We're just gonna do what happens when it happens. When stuff closes, we're gonna do it when it closes. But besides that, we're just trying to have the best.
A few days later, the beaches of Florida were finally closed. March 23rd, USA. Many spring breakers are proven to be infected with the virus. March 23rd, 2020, UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson puts the UK under lockdown, saying that police will now have the power to fine people who gather in groups of more than 2 or who are outside for non-essential reasons. People with the main coronavirus symptoms, a fever or dry cough, are required to stay at home for 7 days, while households in which at least one person is displaying symptoms should quarantine themselves for 14 days. The government will pay 80% of workers' salaries for a period to ease the economic strain, a move praised by a large majority of the population. Other nations have, however, done this before the UK, such as the Netherlands. Late March 2020, Italy. Many political leaders across the country go public and are furious with people not following social distancing, most culprits being young people.
Di casa, da casa non deve uscire nessuno. E a Messina non esce nessuno perché c'è un'ordinanza. E quindi guai chi esce da casa.
Dove andate con questi cani che hanno la prostata infiammata? Dovete stare a casa! Non avete capito che la gente muore? Volete far ammalare tutti? Siete degli irresponsabili, dei cretini, degli emeriti cretini.
C'è una stagione nella quale noi avremo centinaia di ragazzi che si laureano. Mi arrivano notizie che qualcuno vorrebbe preparare la festa di laurea. Mandiamo i carabinieri, ma li mandiamo con i lanciafiamme.
Se tu non esci, non ti preoccupare, non succede nulla, è inutile che scriva a me, che cazzo mi scrive a me, state andando a casa che non succede niente. Ste cazzo di parrucchiere che vanno in casa a aggiustare i capelli e le febbre, a che cazzo servono? Chi cazzo ti dava te per sti capelli aggiustati in tutta vita? Perché se uno viene in casa tua, ed è venuto in casa mia, è venuto in casa di un'altra a fare i capelli o no, ma lei capito che ti potete portare o posto dalla LAC, ti porto o virus corona, quel che te ne dico se non capa così?
Ho incontrato un nostro concittadino che amabilmente faceva la corsetta su e giù per la strada accompagnato da un cane visibilmente stremato. L'ho fermato e gli ho detto: guarda che questo non è un film, tu non sei Will Smith in Io sono leggenda, quindi passa a casa.
Come andrà tutto bene se continuiamo ogni giorno ad uscire per fare la spesa? Quando la spesa si dovrebbe fare una volta ogni 10 giorni. Come andrà tutto bene se ogni giorno tantissime persone escono per andare a comprare le sigarette? Come andrà tutto bene se la gente va e viene dal benzinaio? Ma questa benzina a cosa serve se dovete rimanere a casa?
Non si può stare in mezzo alla strada, come ve lo devo spiegare? Non si può stare. Stanno morendo le persone, come ve lo devo spiegare? Mi farete ammalare pure a me, di che qualcuno.
Late March 2020, USA. In New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo warned that the rate of infections is doubling about every 3 days. Essential businesses that remain open include healthcare facilities, infrastructure, and manufacturing entities, and essential services like trash collection, law enforcement, and homeless shelters. Bars and restaurants can only offer takeout or delivery. At least 23 states have enacted policies to close non-essential businesses in an effort to slow the spread of novel coronavirus in the United States. While guidance varies from state to state, recreational spaces like museums, movie theaters, gyms, daycares, music venues, and malls, as well as personal care retailers like spas, nail, and hair salons, tend to fall into the non-essential business category. Late March 2020, World Health Organization. During this time, it is officially declared by the UN authorities that there is not just a lack of masks and other protective gear for hospital workers, as well as ventilators within certain nations, but this shortage is actually prevalent worldwide. It's estimated that this will inflate the number of deaths during this crisis to a great amount. Ultimately, this shortage can be traced back to the fact that most Western nations have outsourced many manufacturing jobs to other nations, primarily in Asia, and as such, the governments of Western nations can't simply demand national industries to easily ramp up production of demanded goods. Most Western nations have to await needed goods to be transported from nations like China. March 25, 2020, Washington, D.C., USA. A bill to ease the economic hardship of the U.S. finance system as well as citizens will pass. The final language is still being crafted as of making this video, but the package includes a one-time payment of $1,200 per adult and $500 per child. One-time payments of $1,200 per adult and $500 per child. $367 billion for small businesses. $500 billion for loans to larger industries, $100 billion for hospitals and health systems, $50 billion for protective equipment for health workers, testing supplies, workforce training, new construction to house patients, and coronavirus medical research, a $600 increase in the maximum weekly unemployment benefit for 4 months, $150 billion for a state, local, and tribal fund, the creation of a Treasury Department office to oversee the distribution of loans, A tax credit for employers who keep workers on their payroll. A provision that no loans can go to businesses controlled by President Donald Trump, members of his administration, members of Congress, or their families. March 26, 2020, Washington, D.C., USA. Bernie Sanders, who has put his campaign in the Democratic primary on stasis for over a week, to instead focus on doing charity for victims of the coronavirus, raising over $2 million, as well as overseeing reforms to aid in the work of dealing with the outbreak, snapped on his colleagues in the Senate in a video that went viral.
And now I find that some of my Republican colleagues are very distressed. They're very upset that somebody who's making $10, $12 an hour might end up with a paycheck for 4 months more than they received last week. Oh my God, the universe is collapsing. Imagine that. Somebody who's making $12 an hour, now like the rest of us, faces an unprecedented economic crisis with the $600 on top of their regular unemployment check, might be making a few bucks more for 4 months. Oh my word! Will the universe survive? How absurd and wrong is that? What kind of value system is that? Meanwhile, these very same folks had no problem a couple of years ago voting for $1 trillion in tax breaks for billionaires and large profitable corporations. Not a problem. But when it comes to low-income workers in the midst of a terrible crisis, maybe some of them having more money than they previously made. Oh my word, we got to strip that out. Got to tell those poor people that no matter what. By the way, when the McConnell bill first came up, unbelievably, and I know many Republicans objected to this, they were saying that, well, we want to give whatever it was, $1,000 or $1,200, but poor people should get less. You see, because poor people are down here, they don't deserve, they don't eat, they don't pay rent, they don't go to the doctor, they're somehow inferior because they're poor, we're going to give them less. Well, that was addressed. Now everybody is going to get the $1,200. But some of my Republican friends still have not given up on the need to punish the poor and working people. You haven't raised the minimum wage in 10 years. Minimum wage should be at least $15 an hour. You haven't done that. You've cut program after program after program, and now, horror of horrors, for 4 months, workers might be earning a few bucks more than they otherwise went.
March 26, 2020, Maryland, USA. According to the Office of Center for Systems of Science and Engineering, at Johns Hopkins University, worldwide confirmed cases are now at 471,783 people infected. Total amount of recovered is at 114,870 people. And the number of deaths is at 21,308 people. The international mortality rate, calculated as confirmed deaths divided on all total cases, as such, is 4.52% as of this moment. This is subject to change. When calculating the ratio of dead to recovered, there are about 10 dead for every 54 recovered. This is also subject to change. March 26, 2020, China. The curve of spread has officially flattened, and China has for the last week eased some of the restrictions on the populace. Total confirmed cases are at 81,727 infected people, with 3,291 dead and 74,173 recovered. March 26, 2020, Italy. The curve of spread is far from flattening. Total confirmed cases is at 74,386 infected people, with 7,503 dead and 9,362 recovered. March 26, 2020, USA. The curve of spread is far from flattening. Total confirmed cases are at 69,194 infected people, with 1,050 dead and 619 recovered. March 26, 2020, Spain. The curve of spread is far from flattening. Total confirmed cases are at 49,515 infected people, with 3,467 dead and 5,367 recovered. March 26, 2020, Germany. The curve of spread is far from flattening. Total confirmed cases are at 37,323 infected people, with 206 dead and 3,547 recovered. March 26, 2020, UK. The curve of spread is far from flattening. Total confirmed cases are at 9,640 infected people, with 466 dead and 140 recovered. If you wish to understand why mortality rates differ so much between nations, I suggest you watch this video of mine on that very topic after finishing watching this video. Chapter 3. What is COVID-19? Coronaviruses are a family of viruses that cause disease in animals. 7, including the new virus, have made the jump to humans, but most just cause cold-like symptoms. 2 other coronaviruses, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, MERS, and Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, SARS, are much more severe, having killed more than 1,500 people between them since 2002. The source of the coronavirus is believed to be a wet market in Wuhan, which sold both dead and live animals, including fish and birds. These types of markets pose a heightened risk of viruses transferring from animals to humans, simply because hygiene standards are very difficult for authorities to maintain if live animals are kept and butchered on site. Typically, they are also very densely packed with people, as well as animals. We have not been able to identify the animal source of this outbreak. However, the original host is believed to be a bat. Bats were not sold at the Wuhan market, but it's believed that chickens or other animals had been infected by bats at some point, and they were sold at the Wuhan market. Regarding COVID-19, around 20% of confirmed cases have been classed as severe or critical. Researchers at Peking University School of Life Sciences and the Institute Pasteur of Shanghai discovered the virus has evolved into 2 major lineages, dubbed L and S types. The older S type appears to be a milder and less infectious virus, while the L type, which emerged later, spreads quickly and currently accounts for about 70% of cases. Genetic analysis of a man in the US who tested positive on January 21, 2020, also showed it is possible to be infected with both types. Chapter 4. What are the symptoms? According to both the CDC and the World Health Organization, the most common symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, tiredness, and dry cough. Some patients may have aches and pains, nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, or diarrhea. These symptoms are usually mild and begin gradually. Some people become infected but don't develop any symptoms and don't feel unwell. Most people, about 80%, recover from the disease without needing special treatment. Around 1 out of every 6 people who gets COVID-19 becomes seriously ill and develops difficulty breathing. Older people and those with underlying medical problems like high blood pressure, heart problems, or diabetes are more likely to develop serious illness. People with fever, cough, and difficulty breathing should seek medical attention. It should also be noted that it's also possible that another symptom might be a temporary loss of taste and smell in people who have a mild infection, usually younger people. These symptoms have not yet been confirmed, however. Chapter 5. How does it spread? And how do I prevent spreading it and getting infected? Citing the World Health Organization. People can catch COVID-19 from others who have the virus. The disease can spread from person to person through small droplets from the nose or mouth, which are spread when a person with COVID-19 coughs or exhales. These droplets land on objects and surfaces around the person. Other people can then catch COVID-19 by touching these objects or surfaces, then touching their eyes, nose, or mouth. People can also catch COVID-19 if they breathe in droplets from a person with COVID-19 who coughs out or exhales droplets. This is why it is important to stay more than 1 meter, 3 feet, away from a person who is sick. The main way the disease spreads is through respiratory droplets expelled by someone who is coughing. The risk of catching COVID-19 from someone with no symptoms at all is very low. However, many people with COVID-19 experience only mild symptoms. This is particularly true at the early stages of the disease. It is therefore possible to catch COVID-19 from someone who has, for example, just a mild cough and does not feel ill. The risk of catching COVID-19 from the feces of an infected person appears to be low. While initial investigations suggest the virus may be present in feces in some cases, spread through this route is not a main feature of the outbreak. World Health Organization is assessing ongoing research on the ways COVID-19 is spread and will continue to share new findings. Because this is a risk, however, it is another reason to clean hands regularly after using the bathroom and before eating. You can reduce your chances of being infected or spreading COVID-19 by taking some simple precautions. Regularly and thoroughly clean your hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or wash them with soap and water. Why? Washing your hands with soap and water or using alcohol-based hand rub kills viruses that may be on your hands. Maintain at least 1 meter, 3 feet distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Why? When someone coughs or sneezes, they spray small liquid droplets from their nose or mouth which may contain the virus. If you are too close, you can breathe in the droplets, including the COVID-19 virus if the person coughing has the disease. Avoid touching eyes, nose, and mouth. Why? Hands touch many surfaces and can pick up viruses. Once contaminated, hands can transfer the virus to your eyes, nose, or mouth. From there, the virus can enter your body and can make you sick. Make sure you and the people around you follow good respiratory hygiene. This means covering your mouth and nose with your bent elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Then dispose of the used tissue immediately. Why? Droplets spread virus. By following good respiratory hygiene, you can protect the people around you from viruses such as cold, flu, and COVID-19. Stay home if you feel unwell. If you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention and call in advance. Follow the directions of your local health authority. Why? National and local authorities will have the most up-to-date information on the situation in your area. Calling in advance will allow your healthcare provider to quickly direct you to the right health facility. This will also protect you and help prevent spread of viruses and other infections. Keep up to date on the latest COVID-19 hotspots, cities or local areas where COVID-19 is spreading widely. If possible, avoid traveling to places, especially if you are an older person or have diabetes, heart or lung disease. Why? You have a higher chance of catching COVID-19 in one of these areas. Chapter 6. Debunking Common Myths About COVID-19. Myth number 1. Only the older demographic and people with pre-existing conditions need to worry. While we are still learning about how COVID-19 affects people, older people or people with pre-existing medical conditions appear to develop serious illness more often than others. However, there are multiple recorded cases of young individuals who don't have pre-existing conditions, who fall very ill from this illness, with permanent lung damages or even die.
Now, a 21-year-old woman has died after testing positive for COVID-19. Chloe Middleton is thought to be the youngest person to die in the UK after testing positive for the condition. Her aunt said that she had no underlying health conditions. In a Facebook post, Chloe's mother, Diane Middleton, said, "To all the people out there that thinks it's just a virus, please think again. Speaking from a personal experience, this so-called virus has taken the life of my 21-year-old daughter." Well, let's talk to Sky's Noel Phillips. Noel, this will cause great concern to many people, won't they? Because it really has been sort of drummed into us that it's people who are over 70 and it's people who have underlying conditions that are the ones that are affected the worst.
And I think that's the big concern. Chloe was just 21 years old. As you said, her family have taken to Facebook to release a statement and to pay tribute to the 21-year-old. They have stressed the point that she had no underlying health conditions. Her auntie, Emily Mystery, has also paid tribute to her, along with her mom, Diane Middleton, who, as we can only imagine right now, must be distraught, must be very distressed with losing her 21-year-old daughter.
Cases of severe illness or death from COVID-19 in young people is relatively rare. However, the risk is still substantial. If you are young, you should still be careful and avoid infection if possible. Myth number 2. Common drugs like antibiotics are effective. Now, this one is just dumb. No, COVID-19 is a virus. As such, antibiotics are not effective. Antibiotics are only effective against bacterial infections. The US President Donald Trump has also posted tweets containing instructions that can lead to serious conditions if followed, such as blindness or even death. Regarding chloroquine, it is a compound that is used to inhibit the acidification of cell lysosomes. A virus uses its own enzymes to cut this lysosome open, and therefore it can enter the cell cytoplasm. These enzymes can only operate in an acidic environment. The virus's ability to reproduce is slowed down by chloroquine. However, chloroquine also disrupts normal cell function and not just the function of viruses. In order for a human cell to eat, it needs lysosomes. This means that there is an inherent risk in taking chloroquine to treat a viral infection, as not just the viruses are going to be affected by it, but also healthy human cells. Chloroquine has been used as effective treatment of certain parasites. However, this is when experts have dosed and timed the drug correctly. Some severe side effects of chloroquine can be blindness, which is permanent, or, in some cases, even death. The simple truth is that there are some medicines that are being studied and show potential, such as favipiravir, an anti-malarial drug, which seems to be effective against COVID-19 infections that are mild to medium, but not severe. However, if any drugs prove effective against the virus, then the authorities will tell you. Until then, do not ingest any drugs that aren't prescribed or recommended by medical professionals. Myth number 3. This virus will be stopped soon by warmer spring temperatures. It is true that this virus doesn't spread as easily from sneezing or coughing in warmer and more humid air, simply because the air is then more capable of absorbing particles in water droplets, leading to this virus not traveling as far before falling to the ground or a surface. However, this virus has been proven to be able to survive on the ground or surfaces anywhere between several days to maybe 2 weeks, and still be able to infect people. Hence, even as spring comes around, people must still employ some level of social distancing, as well as great hygiene. It's possible that spring might mean a slight dip in infections, but the only way to truly flatten the curve and bring the infection rates down is to use common sense and hygiene. Myth number 4. Regular medical face masks can protect against infection. Only wear a mask if you are ill with COVID-19 symptoms, especially coughing, or looking after someone who may have COVID-19. Disposable face masks can only be used once. If you are not ill or looking after someone who is ill, then you are wasting a mask. There is a worldwide shortage of masks, so World Health Organization urges people to use masks wisely. World Health Organization advises rational use of medical masks to avoid unnecessary wastage of precious resources or misuse of masks. The most effective ways to protect yourself and others against COVID-19 are to frequently clean your hands, cover your cough with the bend of your elbow or tissue, and maintain a distance of at least 1 meter, 3 feet, from people who are coughing or sneezing. Chapter 7. When will there be a vaccine? As of yet, there is no vaccine and no specific antiviral medicine to prevent or treat COVID-19. However, those affected should receive care to relieve symptoms. People with serious illness should be hospitalized. Most patients recover thanks to supportive care. Possible vaccines and some specific drug treatments are under investigation. They're being tested through clinical trials. The World Health Organization is coordinating efforts to develop vaccines and medicines to prevent and treat COVID-19. A vaccine, according to the CDC, is at least 1 year away. With that, I'm gonna end the video. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Bye.
If anyone is thinking of taking any chances, just take a look at me. I'm in the intensive care unit. I can't breathe without this. They've had to sew that into my artery. I've got cannula, another cannula, and a catheter.
My friends have asked me to make this video whilst I've got this coronavirus, to talk about the signs and symptoms in a bid to make people take it serious. So here goes. I'm 51, normally fit, down the gym 3 times a week at least. I have asthma occasionally and take the preventative pump. It starts with a cough, a very dry cough, and if you're like me, it will make your throat sore. You start to feel generally crappy, and then you'll find your lungs will tighten. I didn't have a fever at this stage, but I went to bed thinking it'd pass. I woke up a few hours later, not being able to breathe properly, temperature, sweaty, clammy, but freezing. I couldn't get warm. I had a raging thirst. My spine hurts, my back hurts, my neck hurts. You don't want to talk. You get shortness of breath if you move around. You don't want to lift your head off the pillow. It does come in waves. You will feel slight relief sometimes, and then it will go. Paracetamol will drop the temperature, but I found that the asthma pump doesn't help me too much. If you get the cough, it's very painful, and if you feel the need to laugh, don't, because it's very painful. This really hurts. It's like nothing I've ever had before. I wouldn't wish it on my enemy.